Hey, this is your boy Jay Steve from the Soul Fresh Podcast. And before we get started, make sure you go to YouTube, smash that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Now that that's out the way, let's get it.
All right, welcome back to the Soul Fresh Podcast. I'm your host, BK.
And I'm your host, Jay Steve.
Jay Steve, what's going on?
Nothing much, brother, here with another podcast, and we will be joined by a wonderful man today, Mr. Steve Williams.
All right, yeah, we got Steve Williams joining us. Steve Williams is running for Houston County Commissioner, Post 2. Mm-hmm. And just to add a little bit of information, primary election is May 24th, and early voting starts May 2nd, going on to May 20th. And then we have 2 Saturday voting days, which is May 7th and May 14th. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Steve Williams to the table.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Steve Williams.
Happy to be here, gentlemen.
All right, Ms. Williams. First, we always like to start off with our first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Steve Williams. I'm running for Houston County Commissioner Post 2. Served in the banking industry, or worked with the banking industry for the last 35 years. I'm married to my wife, Teresa. We're married for over 28 years. We have 3 children and 2 grandsons. And grew up in Macon, Georgia with a family of 8 children and mom and dad. And my dad worked at Robins Air Force Base. My mother was in banking. And came down here to, I call it Wonderful Robins. Met my wife at a bachelor's auction for the Cancer Society in Macon, and got married. I would say we dated a little bit, but I knew she was the one, and asked her to marry me, and that's been our history here in Houston County. Because I never thought I'd come here, but it's been great. I was welcomed with open arms when I arrived, not just for the folks that I work with, but other leaders in the community like Dr. Ronald Adams, George Slappy, Barbara Shaheen, Jack Steve, Cheryl Stafford, a lot of those folks that basically said, Steve, here's the opportunity for you to serve. We want you here.
Yeah. So you went to Mount DeSales, right?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that experience. Like, did you have a good experience there? My kid, he goes to FPD, so that's that community and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
And Mount DeSales was great. I attended St. Peter Claver, which is a Catholic elementary school in Macon, and then we all went through Mount DeSales. Mm-hmm. It was different, and I guess St. Peter Claver was more of a black elementary school. Say the African American, it was mostly that population. Right. We didn't integrate till I was in the 3rd grade.
Oh, okay.
And that's when they started bringing some of the other Caucasians over to the school. So that, I guess, prepared me, because when I went to Mount DeSales, it was totally opposite. Mm-hmm. It was only a few of us,
right,
with a student body of about 400. Mm-hmm. But I was in athletics there. In fact, not right off, because in the 8th grade, going at St. Peter Claver, my 8th grade year, I was actually hit by a motorcycle. And I broke my left leg, so I couldn't run anymore. I wasn't as fast as I used to be, so I had to rehab.
Oh,
wow!
But ended up going to Mount DeSales. It's been great.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into what you're running and why you're running. So I got a first question is, I see in an article that you talked about, you broke down your focus areas on growth, and you said one of your 4 pillars were growth in infrastructure, support of public safety, fiscal responsibility, community collaboration, cooperation, and partnership. Yes. So what do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure in the county?
Well, one, we definitely need to get more water down to rural areas and broadband, because we just experienced the pandemic where those children could not even attend school, and they don't have a good internet system down there. So it's not as many people in the rural areas, but it was enough where they needed a good internet system in order to attend school. And then roads. It's not just. And I know that some of that's going to come from the state, some of it's going to come from the county. It's not just widening roads, it's creating another corridors within our county. We're a large county, and we definitely need some of that to improve some of that going forward.
Oh, yeah. The county is growing.
Yes.
Substantially. Being on the Planning and Zoning Board and previously chairman of the Robbins Regional Chamber of Commerce, how much of a transition would that be if you were elected to the county commission?
Well, when I look at all the boards that I've served on, and those are two that I've served on recently, but I also chaired the Central Georgia Technical College Board, which is dealing with state government, and serving on that board for over 12 years. And I currently chair the foundation board for the technical college. And then also I chair the workforce development board, which I've been on that board for about 20 years. I'm going to my second term, or second round as chairman of that board, which is provides the funding for folks that are dislocated from work, helping them retool themselves, get better training, get more education, to help them improve their lives. And that funding comes from the federal government, which comes down through the state, and it encompasses 10 counties around Bibb County. And Houston County is the leader for that organization.
All right, so another question for you. So I see that you serve on like 68, 60 boards. I know earlier off mic you said it was probably more than that.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all these boards and organizations and still be an effective leader?
Well, they're looking for someone with expertise, with knowledge, and different areas. And what they prepare me to do is to be, I'm going to say, well-rounded, but also to understand what I call different areas of focus, from where it has to do with the county, as far as how do we expand, what type of growth, workforce, what type of companies we want to come, or do we have a strong workforce for the new companies that are looking to come here. And that's what most companies, when they're looking to come here, they want to look at, or do you have the right people who have the educational level that we need, that they can actually work for us?
Right.
We're going to have to go outside the county. And I think they're going to get a little bit of that from all of them. But when I look at being fiscally responsible, it says that's my background in banking. And even on some of these boards, being the treasurer, you're responsible. And it's my job or my responsibility to be a good steward of those funds. Well, guess what? With the county, with a budget, operating budget over $68.9 million, I need to be a good steward and make sure those funds are available for the services that we provide for our citizens to live I'm going to call it, productive life here in the county.
Right.
It behooves us not to put someone in there that does not understand finances.
Right.
That does not have a strong background. That think that just because they see, this would be a joke I used to say, just because I have checks doesn't mean I have money in the bank. They see the money and think you can just spend it on anything. No, we have a budget, and we need to make sure we follow that budget to the T.
That makes that,
Yeah, and I was just curious to ask you that question. I was thinking about it last night. I was like, man, that's a nice balancing act, to just be able to still be effective, but be a part of that. Like, I served on my first board last year, the year before, a couple of years, at the Rainbow House. So, and me being a part of so many different other organizations and serving on committees at work, and that, I was like, man, this is so one of these is going to have to go. So,
I can't give 100% of my all to all
exactly.
of them.
So that's why I was. That's what I had to ask you that question as far as that balance.
Well, I think most people want you to serve because they feel like you have some type of influence, that you can help them. Most nonprofit boards want you to help raise money, and the more people you know, the more likely that you're going to be able to help them raise money. But the other part of that is the expertise on, now we have the money, how do we spend it? How do we live out our vision and our mission for this organization? And I think that's what I bring to the table as well. You won't see me making any type of knee-jerk reactions. Right. Basically, that thought process has to go into how we help our county become successful. How do we provide those services for our citizens? But also, how do we partner with our municipalities, with the mayors and the city council in those areas, to making sure that we're providing the services to help them become successful as well? We're all in this together. Right. And then supporting Roberts Air Force Base, making sure they have everything they need to stay here, but also to bring on new missions. And we have to make sure that that's a seamless partnership. That's where collaboration comes in. And now let's not forget about our large industry. That's another issue. We have large industry here in town with Frito-Lay and Purdue, and now with Jack Links, that new announcement at $400 million investment. We need them as well, but let's not also forget about a small business owner. They're the bread and butter of being part of the free enterprise system and capitalism in our country.
That's correct.
And they are very vital because they're hiring those folks to basically work there as well, and they create revenue for our cities and for our county as well.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, that kills me when we do those things. It's small business. That's like, no, let's make small business
big.
Let's normalize that.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Let's make it a regular thing.
Small business. So, real quick, so let's explain to us the structure and the role of the Houston County Commissioner and how it's broken down. I think there's a misconception. People just think it's just that one guy. You know, I think in this county, people are only just familiar with the name Stonecker.
Right.
They're not realizing that
there's a team back
it's
there.
a team. So break that down real quick as far as how that commission position is structured.
Okay. Well, of course, we're all voted in. These are all positions that are countywide. So you basically have to be elected to these positions. Chairman Stonecker and the incoming Chairman Dan Perdue, they are the CEO of the county. They are basically there. That's the only full-time position. They're there day in, day out, working with the management in the different areas of the county, from public works to the sheriff, to the tax assessor, to fire department, to water, to the 9/11. I mean, all those areas are vital to the county providing the services that we need to the citizens. So what do we do as commissioner? Well, basically, the chairman basically gets together with the department heads, and they actually set the budget based on what they're projecting they're going to need for the next year. Costs as far as equipment, resources, personnel, those types of things. So they actually go through day to day, figure out what the budget should look like. I did this in the banking industry. I also did it in private companies that I worked at coming out of college. I had to develop a budget for those companies or develop a budget for the bank that I worked at.
Right.
But what do commissioners do then? We review that budget and we make sure that it's going to be enough funds there for those department heads to basically run that area. And we want to make sure that they do have enough funding and that the cost is not going to put us in dire straits, and we're not spending all of our capital out at one time.
Right.
The majority of the income that comes from to the county is from property taxes. About 70% of that comes from property tax. But then you have the fire department, the water department, a few other departments. SPLOS. Those are separate funds that come in for specific purposes. And that's the one thing people don't realize, that we still have income coming in out of that $159 million budget, but only $68 million of it is operating, and majority of that is really personnel.
Right. Now, just a quick question, just to touch on the SPLOST, because that's always been an issue in the community. How do you regulate, or how do all of you together as an organization regulate how much is going to be put towards the SPLOST fund every year or every quarter or every...
Well, we don't regulate how much is going to go in. That's basically a tax, a penny sales tax. So it's what they did, and I still say it's the best thing that could have happened. Instead of the property owners raising property taxes, funding all the improvements, basically what they've done is everybody that visits the county and spends $1, we're going to get a penny from them. And that means that we're keeping that money in. It's just how much is collected each year, we get our pro rata share. It's not based on a budget or anything. It's based on, we estimate how much we're going to receive. And we've been doing this now probably 3 or 4 times. But it's helped us put in new roads. It's helped us with equipment. It's helped us with quite a few other things. Now, I'm going back to your other question. You were saying about the stopping folks and getting drug money. How do you support that? Well, they still use those funds to buy equipment, cars, and things of that nature, other type of equipment. That's set aside. I'm talking about the operating budget. What is it going to take to take care of personnel? Right. Because that's a big part of the cost for the sheriff's department is the personnel. So we have to basically fund that. We can't depend on if somebody's going to drive up with illegal drugs, then we're going to stop them. Those are just extra funds.
Right, you're worried about tactical vests and things like that.
Right.
What can protect my people while they're out there trying to do their job?
Absolutely.
All right. So now this is a little bit of a tricky question.
Okay.
It's not I won't say it's controversial, but you can speak on it if you want. Me personally,
Okay.
my experience in Houston County.
Okay.
I've always seen Houston County as it's been locked in with kind of a good old boy system.
Okay.
So
Speak on it.
do you feel that good old boy system is still exists or that it's hard to break? Long time ago, I used to actually work for the county.
Okay.
So, and I saw a system in place.
Okay.
But I just want to know, how do you navigate
Okay.
as far as through this, I feel, good old boy system, and do you feel like it still exists?
Well, I think no matter what community you go in, you're going to have that something similar to where people know each other. I was in Macon. I always say, man, it's a good old boy growing up in Macon. Everybody knew. But guess what? This is what I've come to understand as I grew up, as I went into the career of banking. I realized something. It's only good old boy system if you're not one of the good old boys, so to speak. And what I mean by that is, guys, there haven't been one time that I've attended a meeting, even if I wasn't invited, that someone said you're not supposed to be here.
Right,
So it's open.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a part of something, you can attend. So no one has stopped me from going to the city council meetings. No one stopped me from going to county commissioners meetings or the development authority meetings. My thing is, if there's no barrier to entry,
Right.
it can't really be a good old boy, because I have great relationships with many people throughout the county,
Right.
from Perry, Warner Robins, Centerville, and the unincorporated areas, and no one has ever stopped Steve Williams from participating. And I guess that's why I've been called to serve in so many capacities, because I didn't come here for that.
Right.
I came here with my family, get married, raise a family, work at the bank, and all of a sudden people start bringing me in, inviting me in. And even when they didn't invite me, I would just attend because I saw something that was happening.
Right.
So I wanted to be in the know. In fact, that's what most of our my customers or clients at the bank, especially my medical professionals and some of the pastors, they expected me to be out there, to be their ears.
Yeah.
And they basically wanted me there, and they would tell me, listen, Steve, we need you there because we need you to let us know what's going on, because they didn't have time to do it.
Right.
So if you really want to know, my answer to that is, you can find out if you are proactive and stop waiting for permission, but take advantage that you have an opportunity to know just as much as anyone else.
And also at the same time, that's a service to the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the same time, because hey, man, can you get that info? Get that information for me. I just want to hear something, because over here we don't get to hear some of the stuff that Steve Williams may get to hear. And I understand I think that's what BK was kind of touching on a little bit.
Yeah.
How do we get inside that system so we can get the real answers?
Well, go ahead.
But also, it's that same system that allows people, I guess, to be in position for like 40 years or 35 years.
Right.
So is it that they're doing a good job, or is it just a network of individuals that, I guess, protect each other and look out for each other? Because, and no disrespect to anybody else in the position, I'm just naming positions, but I guess it seems like all the major positions that run the county, these individuals have never been moved or lifted. So we got the same sheriff, we got the same commissioner. He's up for retirement, and he's a decent guy.
Right.
And we got the same county clerk.
Yeah.
Who else? There's one more person that is the same. So, the tax guy. I mean, the guy who does your tag.
Yeah.
Kashinka. So, these guys have been in the office for like 30, 40 years. Right. So is it that they're doing just a great job, or?
That's the question. Now these are folks I know.
Yeah.
I have relationships with them.
Of course.
I believe they're doing a great job, but this is the other part. They have to be elected to office.
That's true.
True. Yeah.
So,
That's true.
so,
The people vote for them.
So whose fault? If you're trying to say, are they just doing a great job, or are they just part of the system? Well, you know what? I think if they're doing a great job, they're going to get reelected.
Exactly.
The people vote those folks in those positions.
Yeah.
And so if they're getting voted back into those positions, guess what? They must be doing a great job, because otherwise, if people were dissatisfied with it, guess what? They wouldn't get reelected. Let's look at some of the other offices that have made changes
and to be honest,
from the incumbents.
Nobody's really challenged them. I think county clerk
right.
only been challenged twice.
Right.
Sheriff's been challenged
Right.
only twice. I don't think Kashinka's ever been challenged because I swear his name has been on my tag since high school.
Nobody even knows his name to even challenge him. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. But sometimes maybe, and not to get into depth into it, like we've been speaking about on a lot of our later podcasts, our recent podcasts, voter suppression, and then just people not voting, period. Is that a big factor, you think, sometimes that has a reason to do with why these people are still in these seats for so many years, because people aren't just saying, it's the same person that's been there, so just let them keep doing it.
Well, before he speaks on it, that's why we want to have this conversation with him to talk about the county commissioner. I think what it is lack of education. So a lot of people just don't understand what the commission does. Like, even a long time ago, I might have been ignorant, where I understand who the county commissioner is, but I didn't realize there was a council below them that kind of serves just like the city council. So, but therefore, because, when we talk and you talk to people and they say, well, we're going to have the county commissioner on, guy running for county commissioner. Well, I thought that was a white guy.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, no, it's other posts, it's other seats. So there's a whole structure to it.
Yes.
And so I think it's just a lack of education. So when people go, and we talked about this in a previous podcast, when people go and vote, they're really just looking for those big titles. Like, I know I'm supposed to be here for the DA. I know I'm supposed to be here, and this is a separate, example. Right. So I know I'm supposed to be here for the mayor. I know I'm supposed to be voting for a state representative.
Yep.
And I'm done.
Yep.
So everybody else, check.
Yep.
And I think that we end up in these systems of repetitiveness if we keep not educating ourselves and I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of hearsay too.
Years and years and years ago, a long time ago when I was younger, I'm like, I recognize this dude's name.
Check.
I ain't got time to read all this.
Right.
Yeah.
Just young.
Yes.
21. I know this guy's name. Check. So, but not really understanding, like, okay, what are their point of views? What are they talking about? So I didn't mean to cut you off on that question that he asked you, but
that was fine. And people do that. But can we sit here and decide what they're doing or why they're doing it? I can't. All the thing I tell folks to do is research the candidates and exercise your right to vote.
But see, like he was just saying, I think that's one of the major issues. People in today's times with so much information available at there at their fingertips, they still don't want to do the research. Right. It's just like, excuse me, people ask me and BK sometimes, man, that was a pretty good podcast. How did y'all get that information? How did you? Well, we did research. I mean, we went into our computers or our phones or whatnot and did the same thing. It's just like the reason why we know who's running for what post and who's running for whatever. It's the same way that people should be out there doing it. And then at the end of the day, they have a question. Well, how did they get elected? Oh, I didn't know that's what they were talking about. Oh, you didn't, did you? Because you didn't sit down and take 5 minutes to realize who was in your area, in your county, or in your city that was going to be representing where you live. But you didn't take the 5 minutes to do that. You may have taken the 5 minutes to run to McDonald's to get something to eat. But that's neither here nor there. But I think also that's another factor. And I think that's what we keep trying to tell people, like, you got to do the work yourself as well. You can't just depend on the people that's there to do the work and then come back and tell you, hey, this is why I'm here, just in case you didn't know.
Right. Well, one of the other things is people also, if people that they respect will basically take that person's advice, who should I vote for? Who is this person a good person?
Right.
Or if the person wasn't a good person, did you hear anything that's out there that they're saying about them that's in a negative way?
Right.
And that goes back to doing research too, because not everything that's said out there is true.
Right.
True. Yeah.
So you basically want them to do that, but most people are listening to their family, friends, who I need to vote for, and you're hoping that family, friends done the research or they know that person.
Right.
I definitely ask people, tell someone about me. That's why I have my cards, and it just helps them help spread the word about me, so they have a little information. Because most folks had no idea that I was serving in the capacities I've been serving all this time, because I'm under the radar, gentlemen.
Right.
Well,
Okay. I'm not trying to promote myself. I'm out there doing what I was told what God has told me to do.
Right.
There's no way I prepare myself with all these organizations to give back. I mean, most people have no idea that I've done financial education classes for a lot of the churches and organizations around. I've been doing that on my own time, developing my own platform. Even for I can remember the first time the single mothers back when I first came here about 1995, when I started working in Houston County, they needed someone to do that educational class for single mothers on how to budget. And that was part of Union Grove's initiative.
Right.
And I set up that class for them for the first 2 years so they can go ahead and teach them what's the information about credit? How do I set up a budget? How I live within my means? Those types of things. But those are the type of things that I believe that have a more significant impact than just serving on a board at a position.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's actually the topic we need to get you back on to talk about.
Because I'm thinking to myself, like, that should be, you started that in 95, 96. Why isn't there a brick and mortar structure right now for that class? And every week, like, hey, girl, I got to go down to the center to go check on my my education from Mr. Williams this week about how to help get myself through this single life, raising these kids with no help and stuff like that. I mean, that's a good, we do need it.
It's actually bigger than that. It needs to be implemented in the school system, as we talked about.
Right, on that last podcast. Right.
Absolutely.
But sorry about that. Go ahead.
Right.
No, but that's it. That's one of the things that I've done with other churches that invited me in to talk about leadership, talk about financial education. Fort Valley, I've done something over there with the Boys and Girls Club. Also over I think it was the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, the community financial education class for over at Fort Valley State University. Spoken up in Macon at Mercer for some of those students up there. The AME Church, the CME Church,
right?
Fellowship Bible Baptist Church. I mean, my thing was, God blessed me with this knowledge. I'm not going to hold it back and keep it to myself. My goal was to share it. So I'm going to continue to do that.
Yeah, see, I thought you were just a bank guy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you served on all these other boards and committees. You was real under the radar.
Yeah.
And so,
really?
And I got a question about that.
Yes,
so
sir.
I know you did a lot of involvement in the church, even specifically with your job, trying to get churches several loans for the 100,000s, 200,000s. So how does that even work? Because churches are able to get grants, right? So why do they have to need that much money from the bank?
I don't know. There may be some grants out there, but you have to qualify for grants,
Right.
And so churches need funding for an array of things. They may want to purchase a van, something as simple as buying a van to transport some of their members. Or it could be they need to build a new structure.
I guess that's what the building fund is.
That's
for,
right.
Right.
And the building fund, typically, they raise enough money, but they're needing some additional money to finish it out.
Yeah.
And there have been some churches that tried to do it on their own, and they couldn't. And so they come to the bank and ask them, can you help us finish out our project? Or this is what we raised. How much can we borrow?
Right.
And so I guess through my banking, have developed relationships with a lot of pastors and the bishops, and share with them the information they need in order to qualify for a loan and how much they're going to be able to borrow or how much they can't borrow. Because then sometimes they want to build a larger structure that they can't afford, and I have to be the one to tell them, this is the most that we can do. You're going to have to raise the rest of the money.
Right.
We definitely got to get you back on here to talk about, because I've always had a question about, we already know about personal credit, but obtaining that business credit, especially when you're in a new business. I own a business, me and my wife own a business, and so we always just try to really get some definition on business credit, especially when you're trying to purchase a structure. All right, so.
It's funny that you said that. Just a quick question. I don't know if I touched on this already, but in your 35 years of banking experience, just for some of the listeners out there, what are some of the best banking / investing options that people in the community should be looking into?
And now that depends on that person. because I don't think there's one that's going to be best for everybody. One size does not fit all.
Right.
Some folks want to be more. They just want to invest their funds and maybe with a financial advisor, mutual funds, things of that nature, stocks or what have you. It depends on what they're tolerant for risk. Then some folks are going to look at real estate. They always say that God's not making any more real estate. So
right, no more land.
You better go ahead and invest in it while you can. And right now the prices they've escalated.
Yes.
It's a little tough to get rental property, unlike it was a few years ago.
Is that going to be going down anytime you see, or is that just going to keep trending? Because I saw now cement is going up, just like wood went up, lumber went up.
And commercial property going up.
I mean,
everything's going up.
Everything's going up. Food is ridiculous.
Interest rate just went up another
interest rate,
today. You got to realize inflation is going to happen whenever you're in any economy. Our economy is cyclical, so it's going to be up and down, up and down. And the last few years has been down. The Fed rate has been basically zero. The prime rate has been right at 3.25% for a number of years, and it's time to readjust that because inflation has started to come up. The cost of everything is basically going up at this point. Gas is going up.
Yeah.
Food is going up. Eggs are going up. Milk is going up. I mean, everything is basically going up at this point. So
I know my portfolio is not going up.
That's right. Well, that goes back to
I got to keep pulling out
for risk.
You know what? I'm neutral. I don't like to get on the whole Trump thing or whatever. But man, when he was in office, boy, my portfolio was
Well, that's normally what happens. That's normally what happens.
I can't disagree.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you on that though. I'm serious.
I feel like buying a boat or something.
I mean, like, I feel like within the last year, I was like, I thought I was struggling. Dang.
I just be.
There's that little extra, little something that you have from time to time. Now it's like,
That's right.
now, last few years, I could have swore I had this.
Yeah. I ain't struggling, but my portfolio is all I've seen is red. So
you're not in the black yet.
No, it's been ugly for the last couple of months.
But there are quite a few financial advisors that I recommend folks just sit down with someone you feel comfortable with that understands your goals. They should be sitting down with you to find out what your risk for tolerance
right
in the market. And if it's not, then you need to play it safe. The banks still have CDs, but they're going to be at lower interest margin. You're not looking at making a whole lot of money with that. Now there are other places people invest money now, and I'm not going to go into the
and that's why I asked that question about the banking part of it, because a lot of people forget that banks are still here, even though they're not as the big thing how it used to be. Right. That's kind of why I asked that question, because so many people now. I got to get into the digital currency game and the NFTs.
Right. I had a question for you, Des. Being that you're a banking guy, do you invest? And have you touched the digital currency?
I have not. Now, my son has. Right. And he's younger. He's willing to take that risk. He's young enough. He's still in his 20s. He said, Dad, it's great. It's great. I said, okay, son, you go ahead. But Dad's old. He don't have many years to make it back up anymore.
Right. See, and that's what I kind of was trying to get to when I say, because when I think about the people that are probably going to be listening to this podcast and listening, all right, they got Steve Williams on there. It's going to be people closer towards your age. I also think the same thing, that they're not thinking about, let me try and get into this new type of game. And I guess that's what I was trying to get to as well. That's probably not the best thing for some older people in our community to try and get involved in.
It's a little bit higher risk for them, and if they lose it, then what are they going to do? Continue to work to their 80 or 90?
Right.
Try to make it back up? That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to hold on to as much as they can. Now, I can remember, gentlemen, when I first moved here, and my wife and I, we had sold our house. We were looking at building another house, and we had a Merrill Lynch account. We had some cash in it. I had an investor call me up out of Florida, wanted me to invest in this IPO, new cell phone technology. But back then, cell phones were big bag phones. They had like a tower here and there.
Right.
And he basically said, listen, this is going to be big. This company's going to have these cell phones. Everybody's going to have them. We're going to have cell towers everywhere. And I said, listen, I just don't believe that. I said, I own one of those bag phones. It costs me $1 for every minute I talk on it. And I'm trying to hang up before that minute's up.
I know that's right.
And I just don't believe that. And you don't have no cell towers. I travel around at the bank, to different areas, and I don't even have sales service. So I just don't believe that I'm not going to give you this $10,000 we have to invest. Well, big mistake on my part because I wasn't looking at the future.
Mm-hmm. Same people with the computer.
That's right.
Yeah.
The name of the company was Nokia. And they exploded.
Wow.
On Nokia. They exploded, and I sat there, and people said, "Man, I can't believe you didn't invest the $10,000." I said, "Well, listen, I understood that, but guess what? At least I got the phone call." Mm-hmm. How many people got the phone call? The people that didn't have $10,000 didn't get the phone call. So from that point on, I started being forward thinking and investing in other things that were not just for the now, but for the future.
Gotcha.
I personally didn't run into that, but I know someone who was around your age as well who was contacted by a certain someone and said, "Hey, there's this video game that's coming out with nothing but HBCU athletes in the game. Yep. You want to invest? I don't know, these games and stuff. How ain't nobody gonna play them?" Yep. Well, that turned into something.
It did. I'm familiar with
it. I know. You know what I'm talking about. But that's a question I wanted to get into because I think sometimes people they don't think about certain ways that they can invest in this versus what everybody's telling you to invest in right now.
Absolutely.
Whatever is working best for you at that time. I think that's basically what it comes down to.
Well, the best thing about me being in this position is that you do get my financial expertise for all these years. So we're going to make sure we keep our county strong. We are a leader in this area, in our region. With Houston County and the surrounding counties around us, we're the largest MSA outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
And we're the largest metropolitan statistical area. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we need to be strong. And Houston County has been a leader. We don't want to go in and people think $159 million is a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Operating budget is only $68 million. We have to manage that with personnel, with improvements, with everything that we have to do from a county perspective. You may say, well, it's more than what I have. Well, you're right. You're right in that aspect, but I manage a lot more larger portfolios than that through my banking career. Mm-hmm. And you have to watch those dollars to make sure that they are going to last you the entire year and that we make sure our citizens are provided the services that they need each and every moment that they need them. I can see some folks calling you and said, "My water's not working." Right. Well, we ran out of money. We're not going to be able to get it down there to you. That can't happen.
Right. How do you tell a citizen that? We ran out of funds.
We had to lay off the firemen because we don't have enough funds. Now the fire department do have and operate under their own fund as well. Mm-hmm. That's another area that operates their own fund. Right. As well as some of the smaller areas. They have their own budget outside of the operating budget for the county.
All right. It looks like we're getting back to the end of the podcast, yes. And Jay Steve's got one more question for you. He's going to be asking you about your vision.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when you're relaxing and contemplating things, what is your vision for Houston County as a whole?
Well, let me give you my vision personally for Steve. Mm-hmm. Is to be a voice for people that basically don't have a voice or feel like they don't have a voice because they haven't been able to talk with someone or reach out to someone they felt like they had confidence in or they have a relationship with. Like I said, I've had relationships with folks throughout the county, and my door is going to be open. And I think that's why a lot of my customers come see me because I'm going to share the truth with them and I'm going to basically help them in any way, any capacity that I can. Now, the vision for the county actually is for us to stay prosperous, continue to grow, and continue to support Robins Air Force Base. But that also falls under the chairman's vision. He is the full-time employee. He's the CEO of the county.
Right.
So he's working day to day. My vision has to correspond with his vision. Okay. It can't be Steve Williams has this vision and the chairman has this vision. No, it has to work hand in hand. Right. So my vision is going to be whatever he's wanting Steve Williams to do and to help, but I know that's some of his vision too. Make sure Robins Air Force Base is taken care of. Make sure our citizens are taken care of. Make sure that we are financially strong where we're not like some other counties that are having financial problems where they have to go borrow money to just make ends meet. Right. We're not going to put ourselves in that position for Houston County, and we're going to make sure our citizens are taken care of.
But you're still allowed to implement your ideas.
That's right, absolutely. We sit down and talk about those, and that's it. I mean, it's not like I'm going to shut down and say I'm not going to have anything. It's going to be an open communication, but I'm saying that it still has to line up that we are on the same page.
Right.
And we will be because he and I have served on the planning and zoning board too.
Right.
Okay, so we know each other somewhat.
So there's comfortability there.
Absolutely. And we're going to be able to voice our opinion in our meetings to make sure that we're doing what's best for the citizens of Houston County. Not personal agendas, but what's best for the citizens of Houston County.
And he already served as commissioner, right? So
yes,
he
comes back with some experience.
Purdue.
That's right.
Right.
So and nobody challenged him, so
Yes.
he automatically goes into that seat, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So
Okay.
towards the end of the podcast, we do a thing called 5 words. So I'm going to ask you one word, and then you give me just one response.
Okay.
So example, I say brick, you say mud or something.
Okay.
But whatever, just
Okay.
whatever you feel on the inside.
Okay.
So I've already got the 5 words for you. So
Okay.
Let's go ahead and go with the first word. The first word is Houston County.
Houston County. Home.
All right. Family.
Love.
Mentoring.
Serve to make a difference.
Public service.
You said one word.
Yes, okay.
Serve.
Oh, it's all right.
Public service.
Unwavering.
Last one is a good one. Steve Williams.
Steve Williams. That's 2 words, but
Steve.
humility.
All right.
That's good.
Give it up for him. Steve Williams.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Both for having me here. It's been great.
All right, so Mr. Williams, so that's your audience right there on that camera.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is just go ahead and plug yourself.
Okay.
Let people know what they need to do,
Okay.
why you're running, and just give a little bit of your platform.
Okay. Well, folks, like I said in the beginning, I'm running for Houston County Commissioner Post 2. And why did I feel like this is the right time for me to run? Well, I really didn't. I had no intentions of running. I was approached about running. I've always been approached about running in some capacity in politics, and I just had no interest. But this time it was different. I went home, thought about it. I wake up every morning. This is my normal routine, is to read devotionals and spend that time in prayer. And I read some devotionals that morning. We're talking about how God uses people who didn't want to do something for the greater good. And immediately my spirit just intense and said, you got to do this for the people in Houston County. How many people have the relationships I have throughout the county? How many people that I know that always come to me and ask me what's going on here and going on there? And I've been able to find that information out because I can pick up the phone and call. I feel like I need to do this not just for Steve. It's not about Steve because I've been a servant leader for a long time. It's about how can I help the citizens of Houston County and be the resource to them? How can I help our county remain strong financially? How can I help with the collaboration and partnership with large industry, small business, with Robinson Air Force Base, and with the municipalities? And I just felt like I was the one called to do this. It's been an honor to basically be, I would say, selected by so many people saying, hey, we're behind you. We think you would be great for this. What took you so long? We've been waiting on you to do this. Public safety is real big. I want my family to be safe. I don't want to have to worry about anything happening to my children or my grandchildren. So, yes, I'm going to make sure we have the resources for those officers to do their job and basically protect the citizens of Houston County. I think we owe that to them. They're putting their lives on the line for us. And I think it's probably the best thing I can say, that I really need to make sure that everyone is safe. And we have a lot of things going on now. Our county is growing. We're at 163,000 plus in this county. That's a large population. It's more than what's in Macon-Bibb County. And we need to make sure that those citizens are protected.
All right. So once again, that was Steve Williams running for Houston County Post 2. That is Houston County, Georgia. And also just a little bit of information, just to reiterate what I said earlier. We've got the primary elections on May 24th. We got early voting that started May 2nd, going on to May 20th, and we have 2 Saturday voting days, which will be May 7th and May 14th. And Steve Williams will be running against Shane Gottwals and Zachary Ivester. So those are those 3 candidates running for that Houston County Post 2. So when you see it on the ballot, you make your choice and you decide who is going to be in the best fit. You heard it here. You heard all the information. So once again, get out there and vote. Exercise your right to vote. Pay attention. Do your research. It's simple. You see, and YouTube is a good source. Just get on YouTube and research.
Everything is there.
Everything is there. So I'm your host BK,
and I'm your host J Steve.
Peace.
Thank you for checking out another episode of the Soul Fresh Podcast. If you want to catch the audio version, make sure you go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want to check out the video version, make sure you head on over to YouTube. And when you get there, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and go ahead and turn on that notification bell. And in the meantime, until the next time, keep it 100, be blessed.